Okay, it's that time of the evening when we introduce our special guest tonight. The RCS Victoria, in partnership with the Council of British and Commonwealth Societies, are delighted to welcome Catriona Boyd to the Commonwealth Day dinner. Catriona is the newly appointed Deputy Consul-General at the British Consulate General in Melbourne. Catriona is focused on ensuring maximum benefit is realised from the UK industrial strategy in Australia across industry, civil society and government. Prior to her posting in Melbourne, Catriona led a team working on citizens' rights policies in the Department for exiting the European Union and was responsible for engaging with UK nationals in the EU and the EU citizens in the UK about their rights post-Brexit. Catriona started her civil service career in the Department of Health and Social Care, working as a private secretary to the Minister of Public Health and Primary Care, and covered a portfolio spanning primary care, international health and NHS English sponsorship. Prior to civil service and with a background in legal studies, Catriona led the expansion of youth engagement for justice and a human rights and legal reform background. Please welcome Catriona.
Thank you very much. A bit shorter, so hopefully that works. I've never had my kind of background read out like that, and I was sitting there like, oh yeah, I remember that. So yeah, thank you. First of all, just want to say a huge thank you for having us both here this evening. It's been really wonderful meeting so many of you, and I hopefully will catch you all throughout the evening at some point. And also just for the opportunity to introduce myself to you properly, walk you through what I'm doing at the consulate, and then I can say a little bit on Commonwealth Day as well. So, as you know, I recently arrived in Melbourne to take up the role of Deputy British Consul-General to Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania. It doesn't ever roll off the tongue. I'm trying to find a way to shorten it, so any ideas, let me know. So this is the first time in over 10 years that the British government has had a Deputy Consul-General here in Melbourne. And I think this is just, one, it's a boost to our resources, so we can do a lot more of our engagement and as like you're saying, across business, civil society, and of course politics. But it's also a sign of the importance of Australia and that it's really a key partner in the world for the UK as we kind of take on this new position in a post-Brexit world on the global stage and what we're calling Global Britain. So it's not just me, I've also been joined by a new Deputy Consul-General in Sydney, a new Consul-General in Brisbane, and 2 other diplomatic postings in Canberra. So it really is a huge boost to our resources. So you can ask me in a few years what we've done, but hopefully I can stand in front of you and list off all the exciting things we've managed to do. So for me, this is my first international posting, and I have to say I'm truly delighted and honoured that I'm here with you today and in the role. Immediately prior to this, as you've heard, I worked in the Department for exiting the European Union, and on phase 1 of our negotiations, which I was there for 2.5 years. So I was there just as they were agreeing the final policy positions, and then right through to when they, after the last election, and then they signed off the withdrawal agreement. So in that 2.5 years, quite a lot happened, quite a lot changed, but I've not even really had time to digest everything that's happened in that time. So, my focus was on citizens' rights policy, so it was really what happened to the 3 million EU citizens in the UK and the 1 million UK nationals in the EU after Brexit. So free movement no longer applies, so it's how do we protect the rights of these people. And as part of this role, I travelled to countries across the EU to talk to UK nationals, to understand their concerns, hear about the issues they're facing, and answer some quite difficult questions in that time. And that aspect of the role was one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much. And being kind of face of the UK government was something I found really valuable, and hearing from lots of different perspectives and understanding how we could help people and how we can shape policy to deliver for everyone was a huge huge, I really appreciated that part of the role. I mean, that is actually one of the reasons why I went for the role as Deputy Consul-General, to really continue to be the face of the UK government abroad. And another reason I went for this wonderful job here in Melbourne was just the sheer variety of the work. So as Deputy Consul-General, I of course support Chris Holtby, who's our Consul-General, who I'm sure many of you met, and all the great programmes that he runs. But alongside this, I have a particular focus on economic development. So as you've heard, the UK's industrial strategy. And within that, there's 4 key areas. So the first is the future of mobility, so how people, goods and services move, and the infrastructure we build to support that. The second is life sciences and an ageing society. So how do we harness the amazing power of innovation to really deliver for our ageing society? Third is AI and data. So we want to put the UK at the front of the AI and data revolution, but to do so we need to work with our international partners, and Australia is a key partner in this area. And finally, the fourth, and probably the biggest this year, is clean growth. So how do we do all these exciting things while still reaching the UK's commitment for net zero carbon by 2050? And you may have heard, but at the end of this year, the UK hosts the UN Climate Change Conference, so COP26, so we love our acronyms in the public sector. So you ever hear that? That's going on at the end of this year, and it's really the UK's key international priority, so I expect you'll probably see lots of engagement from the UK network in Australia throughout this year leading up to that. So as you can see, it's quite a wide portfolio. But covering this portfolio, even in 2 short months, has meant I've met a huge variety of interesting people. I've learned lots of fascinating things. It can range from talking about sustainable cities to how to increase participation in STEM. So although there's a lot of different subject matters, there's always one thread that keeps coming through in these conversations, and a common theme throughout them all. So everyone I've spoken to talks about the opportunities to do more between the UK and Australia. And for me, this is really exciting, and for everyone in this room, I hope it's equally as exciting. There's this aspect of doing more with trade and investment. We have our future free trade agreement negotiations this year, which will start soon, I think, obviously dependent on everything else going on, but this year. Do more with research and development. How do we, as I said, how do we learn from each other? How do we tackle the shared challenges that we have? And I think all this willingness to do more together really showcases the excellent relationship which I touched on between the UK and Australia. And I'm going to steal words from our Foreign Secretary, who came with his first visit after the UK left the EU was to Australia. And he put it very simply as, Australia is one of the UK's greatest partners and closest allies. And so part of this partnership is of course our membership of the Commonwealth community, and really the reason we're all here today, and I'm delighted to be celebrating it with you today. So the Commonwealth's 54 member states have shown commitment to working together to tackle global challenges, and this includes things like climate change that I've spoken about, ensuring human rights, and driving inclusive economic growth. And the UK's had a long-standing commitment to the Commonwealth. You've heard it was one of the founding members, as Australia. And we've been chair in office since 2018, so every 2 years the chair in office moves. And this year we're handing it over to Rwanda. But while we've been chair in office, we've tried to drive delivery of a fairer, more prosperous, more secure and more sustainable future, which has been our focus, future for the Commonwealth as a whole. So yeah, Rwanda takes on chair this year, and we have the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting taking place there in June. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about what they discuss, and I'm always welcome your views as well and anything that comes out of that. But today we're here to celebrate Commonwealth Day, and this is all about the truly diverse and vibrant cultures within the community. And I learned this week, and I'm quite happy to say I probably should have known this fact already, but there's 2.4 billion people in the Commonwealth, And in its entirety, that makes up a third of the world's population. And you're right, without India, it might be a little bit less, but it is quite significant. There's a huge community of people, and everyone, of course, brings all different thoughts of life, all different diversity, and it's been International Women's Week, and I've been talking about the subject a lot, and everyone keeps saying if you've got diverse people, you have diversity of thought. And I think it's honestly fair to say that the evidence is there that diversity of thought makes everything more productive and it creates better outcomes for everyone. Now, I think the Commonwealth has really taken this lesson and applying it in an international setting. So we have our varied and vibrant network, and that leads to more that we can learn from each other, and a bigger and greater chance of tackling some of the global challenges that we face today. And I, for one, I'm very proud to be part of a network like that works together and tries to find solutions. So I'm going to leave you with the theme of this year's Commonwealth Day, and the theme that Rwanda is taking on as it takes chair in office. So the day was centred around delivering our common future, and it highlighted that 54 members of the Commonwealth family are innovating, connecting and transforming. And in the past 2 months, during my time in Melbourne, as I've been talking to many people like yourselves in this room and many other people that I've met on my journey, I can honestly say I think I've witnessed all 3 of those things. And I'm very much looking forward to building more projects between the UK and Australia, which do the same. Thank you. I'm very happy to take questions. I mean, try to go easy on me, but no, I'm very happy. I can answer anything about what I've done in the past or what I'm doing now. Or
Anybody has a question, we have another mic that we can float around. So. Any questions? No questions. There we go. It's not over.
Thank you very much for speaking to us tonight. I'm interested in knowing what county of Ireland you're born in, please.
What country I was born in?
Which county?
County. So I'm Scottish. So I was born in... No, sorry. I know. I mean, it was 50-50. You were close. I have Irish heritage, so there you go. But I was born I'm from a town called Peebles, which is in the Scottish borders, just south of Edinburgh. So,
Why are you wearing green?
thought I'd match my red shoes.
Catriona, now that we've established exactly where your origins have been, perhaps you could just elaborate a little bit as far as Nicola Sturgeon's position now post-Brexit, and how she sees Scotland and Scotland's place in the UK, as you've had quite a bit to do with the Brexit finalisation in January.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, everyone has probably read that Nicola Sturgeon's position is she wants another Scottish referendum. The UK government's position is it's a once-in-a-generation referendum, and that's happened. And that actually happened when I was living in Scotland, when I was at university. I think it's, and this isn't a dodge to your question at all, but I do think it's something that we need to see how it progresses. Anything I've learned working on Brexit is it's never a straight road, and it's never an entirely easy road. So I think we'll see how that plays out, because Nicola Sturgeon obviously has her views and her Parliament's views, and is an elected Scottish Parliament, there's the UK Parliament. It becomes a constitutional question on the topic of a second referendum and independence, and I don't know how that will turn out.
Well, Brexit really does not finalise until the end of this year. I think it's November, is that correct?
So we've left the EU, we did so on the 31st of January, but as part of our agreement, or what's called a withdrawal agreement, so basically the exit terms, we agreed an implementation period, which will take us to the 31st of December 2020. And that period was always been in that agreement since it was first made, which is like when it was first negotiated. And that period is really to allow time for the EU and the UK to negotiate the future trade agreement. So what we've done our exit terms, but what's the future relationship between the two? So we have left. There's just this implementation period that ends in December. And I should add to that that the government's been very clear that it is not going to extend that period, and they've actually made it difficult in law to do so. So that will take us to the end of this year. But in the implementation period, there's some small things that change, but I won't bore you with the details. But basically, most things stay the same. Free movement exists, they'll say it stays the same, and everything, like trade, all stays the same until the end of December.
Over there. Boris.
As a result of Brexit, do you see a stronger focus by the UK Parliament on strengthening ties or increasing ties with the 56 or 50 Commonwealth countries? 54 Commonwealth countries, I'll get it right. 54 Commonwealth countries. There was, I think, a bit of resentment here years ago when Britain joined the Commonwealth, the EC, as it was in those days, because a lot of trade negotiations and other reciprocal arrangements were cast aside. And I was wondering if there is a conscious effort to try and strengthen those and reunite some of those things.
I think, so there is a conscious effort to try and strengthen our other relationships. I mean, Brexit is obviously a factor in that, but I don't think it is the sole factor. Global Britain has been a kind of vision since before we left the EU. But of course, leaving the EU has changed our positioning on the global stage. We're now a free trade, we can make our own trade agreements with other partners. And the priority countries that I said, so Australia is one of those priority countries, and others the US, New Zealand and Japan. So they're the 4 ones that we want to do first, and free trade agreements. So that is, of course, that's a change. We've not done our own trade agreements for 40 years. We've not been an independent member of the World Trade Organization for 40 years. But I do think so going back to your initial question, we do want to strengthen our ties with countries like Australia. I mean, I said that at the start. I think my position and the other 4 people that have joined me to do so is all about building this relationship, a quite unique relationship that we have with Australia, and the shared interests that we have. And I mean, the Commonwealth will be part of that, but the UK has always supported the Commonwealth and has always appreciated it. So I think it's just building on what we've already done in the past.
Anyone else? Okay? No? Oh, you had your hand up.
I've got questions, probably more self-interest. What happens to those of us that are travelling on an EU-UK passport? That's valid for the next 8 years or so.
So you have a UK passport that is the old EU.
EU, yes.
So that will, as long as it's valid, that will continue to be valid.
And for till it's
Till it
expired.
expires. But what you will need to check is if you're going to EU countries. So we've already agreed with the EU that we're not going to ask, reciprocally, we're not going to ask for visas for short-term visits for tourist reasons. But say if you wanted to move to an EU country, so take, I don't know, you wanted to move to Spain, you would have to fulfill whatever immigration agreements we agree with the EU next.
I would be travelling probably as a
But as a
tourist,
tourist,
you might
yes.
say.
Yes, then you're fine.
Yes, and travelling elsewhere in the world too. You know, if I go to the United States or somewhere, they won't
Yeah.
suddenly decide I'm stateless or something.
No, the passport, the UK passport, even if it's Burgundy, it's still got the EU on the front, it meets all the requirements of a legal passport. So Okay, you're
So next till it expires in 18 in 8 years'
Till it
time.
expires.
Right.
Get in when it expires.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else? Yeah, Ed? Charles?
I understand that if an agreement is reached between the UK and the EU by the end of this year, a certain sum of money will be paid to the EU by UK. Is that the case?
So in the withdrawal agreement, which is our exit terms,
Yeah.
I don't like the term, but it's, people call it the divorce agreement.
Yeah.
Was 4 things. So one was citizens' rights, which is what I focused on. One was the Northern Ireland-Irish border.
Yeah.
And the third was the financial settlement.
Yeah.
So it's already been agreed that we will, and it's the money that we signed up to pay for this financial kind of season of the EU, and we will stand by those sums.
And if no agreement is reached by the 31st of December,
So that's already been agreed as part of the withdrawal agreement. So we've already agreed to
I
pay that
said
money.
that money can still be
Yeah,
paid. I see.
yeah, as part of our kind of exit terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Loretta?
Sorry, I do have another question that just occurred to me. You spoke, thanks Charles, you spoke, and we know tonight and we've spoken a bit earlier, about CHOGM this year is to be held in Rwanda. Have any preliminary arrangements been made? Surely there must have been by now. It's March and it's going to be held in June. Can you update us on what's happening with that, especially in light of the current COVID-19 situation?
So
It's still going ahead, I take it.
yeah, as far as I'm aware now,
Yes.
I mean, as with COVID-19, we're very much reacting as things develop. I was saying this to someone earlier that no one, I think after China would have thought that it would be Iran, Italy and South Korea that would next get hardest hit by COVID-19. So when it comes to CHOGM and Rwanda and the meeting in Rwanda, I think we just, I think people will be watching it, and I'm sure, as with everything else in the UK, they will be thinking about alternative arrangements or whether to postpone, but no decision has been taken on that yet, as far as I'm aware. And I think we just have to wait and see where we are with COVID-19 in a few months.
Difficult to make arrangements.
Yeah, it's across the board, even for the things we're doing here, for I know my colleagues in Italy and the ones who are in China, where it's really difficult currently, and actually that goes back to my speech on how important when we have these global challenges and these global issues, on how important it is actually working together. And I think you can see that in the world response to COVID-19 and how countries are working together to try and find a vaccine. Yeah, but I mean, as I hear more, I can keep you updated.
Anyone else? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Jason to offer a vote of thanks.
Well, I think you have to agree, and this is no reflection on your boss or his predecessors, that you're a breath of fresh air as Deputy Consul-General. Now, if you want to get over the South Australian, Tasmanian, Victorian problem, just SA, Tassie and Vic will give you the right connections there, and they'll know what you're talking about. I think you pointed out to us that global Britain, in having so many new people coming here, Sydney, Brisbane and Victoria, is obviously making a valiant effort to improve the relationship between the UK and Australia, and of course getting out of Europe has provided that opportunity. And I think from what you said, where, if we're not number one, we're the 2 or 3 on that list of countries around the world that particularly want to do business with. So that's great for us, and I know that both sides have been working on that for some time. Impressed by the 4 pillars of the economic development that you're going to be dealing with, or your principal involvement will be, and good luck with all of that. The climate conference in the UK at the end of the year, well, good luck with that as well, but probably you'll be here and won't have to take part in that. But no doubt they'll come up with more goals that we have to reach, and I'm sure a lot of support will come for that. The free trade agreement is no doubt the main thing that we're going to be working on, and even the High Commissioner's talked about that. I don't know if she's got over yet reprimanding our members of Parliament or not for letting out discussions in regard to what was taking place, but once she has got over that, presumably we can make some more progress. We're delighted that you've been able to join us tonight and to give such a marvellous speech, which has been both interesting and informative. And all of us here wish you well as Deputy Consul-General for Britain while you're here in Vic, Tassie and SA, and we hope it all goes well, and we look forward to seeing a lot of you over the next few years. So please join me in thanking Kat.
Photoshop two of your